Hey guys, Marsingin here bringing you Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video, and so today I am going to talk about a concept for the Global Dokkan campaign that is based entirely around the Future Saga, but with an interesting twist. Now this is something that we talked about on stream the other day, so shout out to anyone who was there. You will know some of this already. Obviously make sure you guys keep an eye out. If you're subscribed to the channel, do come by the live streams. I do post my stream schedule on there and also in the Discord, so do join the Discord, be part of the community. The link is down below in the description. But we talked about an idea for a Global Dokkan campaign that, whilst I don't think we would ever get something exactly like this, because it is very much like a what if sort of Dokkan original themed kind of thing, I think it's something that is very awesome. And I should preface it by saying that, like, I think this is something the game should do more of. Like, when the game does Dokkan original stuff, people get really excited for it, right? Even if it's just a super attack animation, Vegito Blue from the Future Worldwide, Gogeta from the 10th anniversary, like, characters having these Dokkan original animations are always really cool. And then characters that are in themselves kind of like Dokkan originals, like the Tech LR, Goku and Gohan, like, they're always very popular. The free to play, I mean, they're free to play, so it's hard to gauge a metric on like how much people would have summoned for them. Obviously their kit would have been significantly better, but characters like the Trunks and Broly, this is the kind of stuff that I think Dokkan should be doing more of. Like, Dokkan, we know, can't do manga characters, so there's a bunch of stuff that is sort of off the table for Dokkan. But I think one of the things that they should be trying to take advantage of more is that they have this huge wealth of stuff from the IP. Like, Heroes obviously was its own thing that had its own licensing issues, and so characters that are specifically like Heroes characters can't necessarily be used in Dokkan. I'm not really sure exactly how that license works though, because, like, let's say Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. If Dokkan made a Super Saiyan 4 Vegito but gave him a slightly different design and didn't put the Heroes branding on him anywhere, like, what has that got to do with Heroes? Super Saiyan 4's in Dokkan, like, we've got Super Saiyan 4 characters in Dokkan anyway. I don't really know how that works, but I think Dokkan should be taking advantage of the what if stuff a little bit more, and the best way they can do that is by pushing into either Dokkan original or crossover stuff a little bit more. Now, crossover is a little bit more difficult because obviously it does involve licensing and coming to deals with other companies and stuff like that, and we know that those kind of things can often be awkward. One side not wanting to negotiate can obviously lead to those kind of things shutting down completely, but I think this would be very, very interesting. So I want to talk about the way I would put out a Future Saga themed Global Dokkan campaign. This is based off the blueprint of there being 4 LRs, 2 in part 1 and 2 in part 2. Because obviously there could be 6, but this is based around 4, and also based around the idea that it is fully themed around the Future Saga, but obviously with a little bit of what if and crossovery stuff thrown in. So the way I would do this is we would have part 1. Now, I'm not sure, I think a lot of people are more hyped for like the Rose Zamasu exchange, but because of the way I want to do the part 2 units, I think I would do it this way around. But I mean, let me know whether you think this should be part 1 or part 2 once we've gone through both the parts. But in part 1, we get the reversible exchange Blue Goku and Vegeta that fuse into Vegito Blue. Obviously, when it comes to the 2 different active skills, I think there's a couple of ways you could do this. I know a lot of people really want to see the standalone, like, Blue Goku that goes into a rage after finding out that Zamasu killed Goten and Chi-Chi. So you could do this unit as, like, that's Goku's active skill, where he has that sort of animation where he finds out and goes into a rage, and then he gets like a permanent attack buff, maybe gets guaranteed extra additionals or something like that. And then Vegeta has the active skill where they fuse into Vegito. Or you could have Goku have the active skill where they fuse into Vegito, and then Vegeta has maybe like the speech that he gives Rose about the, like, not being able to use the Saiyan body correctly. and has like, maybe that could change his super attack animation, like his 18 key changes into a revamp of the beatdown against Rose that the int TUR Vegeta has. I talked about that the other day in the Easy A's video, the fact that there is no modern version of that super attack animation. I mean, I guess the blue Vegeta part of this card could just have that. It could start off as Vegeta and he has that, and then Goku has the fusion into Vegito. Either way, I think reversible exchange Goku and Vegeta in part 1 that fuse into Vegito Blue, and obviously following a similar blueprint to the 10-year LRs where we don't have some terrible transformation condition or anything like that. We know we're going to get Vegito Blue out when we use this unit. I wouldn't make the Vegito a complete copy of like the tech Vegito though. Like, we wouldn't give him like the 1-turn active skill with the counters and the target ability and stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly how I would design the kits. I kind of just wanted to talk about the unit choices a little bit more, but I don't think I would make him like a carbon copy of the tech Vegito. I think there's definitely ways you could do this unit in an interesting fashion that aren't just copying the tech Vegito or the AGL Gogeta, but I guess we'd have to wait and see. I think it would be cool if he has a mechanic where like he builds up attack by getting hit, and then his active skill could be like the final Kamehameha. So he's actually kind of different to them, where you benefit from not using his active skill on the first turn that he comes out, right? So he comes out, you can get him to take a bunch of hits, and then on the next turn, if he uses active skill, it's going to do more damage because he's taken some hits, and then that could be the final Kamehameha. I think that would be kind of cool. Okay, so then we have the question of, alongside this Goku and Vegeta that fuse into Vegito, who are we going to have as the other banner? And I am sticking with that format of like Dokkan Fest X Carnival. So these guys would be the Dokkan Fest LR. And then the Carnival LR in this part 1 of the celebration would be Gohan Black. So Gohan Black obviously is a character that people have wanted to see in Dokkan since his inception in Sparking, when it was uncovered in the Gohan storyline that you could go down this branching path and have a what if Gohan Black scenario, which was very cool. I think it started off branching as an alternate path from Resurrection F, where Gohan is able to actually tap back into his full power and the ultimate form while fighting Frieza. So before Goku and Vegeta even return from Beerus's planet, Gohan defeats Frieza. Which, of course, is crazy when you think of the scaling in that movie and how, like, until he starts to run out of power, he's putting the hands on Blue Goku. Like, in the actual scenario that you play, you defeat Golden Frieza as Ultimate Gohan, which is pretty funny. And then it branches on from there. He takes part in the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament, and that's where Zamasu then, like, sees him on GodTube, I think. And then, of course, he becomes Zamasu's target instead of Goku for the body switch. So we get Gohan Black. And that scenario is actually very cool. I wasn't a huge fan of Sparking Zero and how it turned out in the end, but that campaign was probably one of the most fun parts of playing through Sparking for me, was that Gohan what if scenario. So I really enjoyed that. I definitely would be really hyped to see this come to Dokkan. So there is a custom Gohan Black that I've used on the private server, who is, as many private server custom units are, super OP. But if we take a look at like a basic Goku Black character, obviously he's going to be on these categories like Realm of Gods, Potara, Future Saga. He would of course be on Crossover. Now bear in mind, Goku Black isn't on Pure Saiyans, so I don't know if Gohan would be on Hybrid Saiyans. Hybrid Saiyans of course does include fusions, so maybe they would also include Gohan Black, because he's a hybrid, I guess, still of a Hybrid Saiyan and like a divine being. I don't know. The private server one does, but obviously the private server one, they just give him everything. They throw everything at, including the kitchen sink, onto that unit. But yeah, transformation boost if he has the transformation. Gohan Black does have the like ultimate rosé. His hair color doesn't change, but he does have the rosé aura and he becomes more powerful. So it's like ultimate Gohan stacked with the rosé buff, which is pretty awesome. And he has the scythe, I believe, as one of his attacks. So transformation boost would be there if he has the transformation. Time Travelers, Kamehameha. I mean, he could still have that. The Inhuman Deeds, Corroded Body of Mind, Accelerated Battle. Worldwide Chaos, Power Beyond Super Saiyan, Power of Wishes. Super Bosses, I'm not so sure, because he's obviously technically not from Dragon Ball Super. He is just from the crossover. So I think if he had crossover, he would potentially have that instead of Super Bosses. But having Super Bosses would obviously make him a better unit, so that would be ideal. And then Successors is obviously part of the whole Goku Black like thing. So he's on a ton of really good categories. His links probably would be about the same. I don't see anything here that would necessarily need to change. Because Ultimate is part of his thing as well, if he was Ultimate Rose, I think instead of Power Beyond Super Saiyan, he would have like Power Bestowed by God, I guess. Because the Ultimate Gohans have that, don't they? So I think this would be very interesting. So this would be the Part 1 Carnival LR, and he could either be a 220% lead for, I guess crossover is a bit too, like crossover's kind of all over the place until we get those other Xenoverse buffs like the EZAs, the Heroes EZAs that are coming out later this year. Like crossover's not the craziest of categories. So something like Time Travelers or Future Saga, I mean straight up Future Saga 220, considering the whole celebration is a Future Saga celebration, would be pretty cool. Otherwise you're looking at something like Realm of Gods maybe. I think things like Corroded Body and Mind wouldn't be great. Accelerated Battle's a crazy category, but that's got tons of buffs with like Glorio and Hit. So big interesting, Worldwide Chaos maybe. But yeah, this would be the Part 2 or Part 1 second banner. So we've got Dokkan Fest exclusive LR, Reversible Exchange Goku and Vegeta Blue that transform into Vegito Blue and then have a potential other active skill as well. And then Gohan Black as the Part 1 Carnival LR, right? Basing him kind of off of this sort of design. So then we would go on to Part 2. And so the Part 2 Dokkan Fest exclusive would then be, of course, the much anticipated, long awaited Reversible Exchange Rose and Zamasu. It could be Goku Black base and Zamasu. I guess it depends how you want to do it. Again, I haven't really thought about designing kits for these units, just talking about the character choices. So we've got a couple of different options. We can either have base Goku Black and Zamasu, and then Zamasu has the active skill where they fuse, and then Goku Black has the active skill where he goes Rose. So that would be kind of similar to the Tech Vegeta version of Vegito, where he just gets a permanent buff, but he transforms into Rose, and then Zamasu has the fusion into Fusion Zamasu. And again, like it could be interesting to do something different to the Vegito and Gogeta from the anniversary, where maybe rather than being insanely mega busted and you only get them for 2 turns, it is actually a permanent fusion, potentially even with the option to transform into the corrupted version, or maybe, as I mentioned in a previous video, one of them could have the active skill to transform into the normal Fusion Zamasu, the other one could have the active skill to transform into the corrupted Fusion Zamasu, and obviously they would both be designed very, very differently. One of them could be like a super mega slot 1 tank that just doesn't take damage and still hits like relatively well, and then the other one would be like a super crazy damage dealer that has okay defense, maybe isn't tanking the biggest supers in the game, and then maybe has some like unit enemy disruption, like action break, like an active skill of an action break, all that kind of stuff, like interesting utility mechanics and attack power. And then the other one is just a mega tank, and depending on the scenario you get to pick the one that best fits that situation. And then obviously these guys, I think this is a unit that ever since Reversible Exchange was introduced, I think I even made a post which I then made into a video asking people like, who do you most want to see now that this mechanic is in the game? And I think the Rose and Zamasu was probably the one that got the most mentions. I think the only other one that did relatively well was like people mentioning Kale and Caulifla, which of course we have now as well. So I think this would be very, very cool. So this would be the Part 1 Dokkan Fest exclusive, Part 2 Dokkan Fest exclusive, where just like Part 1, the Dokkan Fest exclusive is a reversible exchange that is actually canon, like solid to the Future Saga. But then the Part 2 Carnival LR, we're going back into the what over. It's not a what if or a crossover, it's a what over. The crossover or what if category. This isn't actually a crossover specifically, it is just a what if, but it is a Super Saiyan God Vegito. Because I know people will say like, oh, well, we still don't have a standalone Vegito Blue, and in Part 1 you've given us another transforming Vegito Blue. But I think getting a standalone one as well is a bit much, and we're getting, I would imagine, the Super EZA for physical Vegito Blue, who hopefully will be really, really good. So I think this will be really cool. So this is obviously an edit of some Legends art with some Dokkan art in the background, found on Google Images, but I think this would be really cool. A standalone Super Saiyan God Vegito. And obviously he could have the Carnival 220 lead of like Realm of Gods. So kind of like the Gohan Black from part 1, if we said that maybe he has 220 to Future Saga, this guy would technically also lead all 4 units from the Global Dokkan Campaign under his 220 lead, which I think giving them that sort of crossover like that would be really, really good. And if we take a look at like the Tech Vegito Blue, like we got the standalone Vegito Blue here, obviously with the kind of links we would expect him to have. If we take a look at like a God Goku, like the links are very similar, right? We have things like Godly Power, Super Saiyan, Over in a Flash. He has Over in a Flash and Prepared for Battle. And I know Vegito Blues very often get only Over in a Flash. I think one of them does have Prepared for Battle. It might be the STR LR, but giving him both would be pretty good. Warrior Gods can be good with the right link partners, of course, including like the Year 7 LR EZAs, who are still really, really good. I guess he would technically have to lose one of these links in order to get legendary power. So I suppose he would end up probably having almost the exact same link set as the part 1 Vegito, because realistically, like, none of these links need to change just because he's in God instead of Blue. He would still be on all the same categories because, of course, God counts for Power Beyond Super Saiyan. So I think this would be a really, really cool addition to the game as a character that we don't have as a uniquely named character. And it's another Dokkan original, like, what if unit. So the whole theme of this like custom Global Dokkan campaign is that while it is themed around the Future Saga, both parts, part 1 and 2, are a Dokkan Fest exclusive LR that is reversible exchange of like the main, you know, characters from the Future Saga, apart from Trunks, I guess. And then the part 2 LR is a Carnival, or sorry, the second LR is a Carnival LR that is either a what if or a like Dokkan original or crossover. So part 1, reversible exchange, Goku and Vegeta that fuse into Vegito with Carnival LR Gohan Black. And then part 2, Dokkan Fest exclusive, reversible exchange, Goku Black and Zamasu with part 2, Super Saiyan God Vegito. Personally, I think this would be awesome. Like I said, the what if stuff generates hype. Like, people want a standalone Vegito Blue, but I genuinely think if they posted like a teaser that just kind of showed the intro and then they posted the card art, that like the part 2 Carnival LR was going to be a Super Saiyan God Vegito, I think people would be super hyped for that. But let me know what you guys think. Is it something that you would be hyped for? Is it something you don't really care about because it's not like an actual thing, you just want to see a Vegito Blue? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. But yeah, that's just the idea I had for a custom sort of celebration by throwing in some of this Dokkan original what if crossover type stuff. I think it would be super fun and super hype, but as I said at the very beginning, I also think it's like, I mean, I won't ever say anything's impossible in Dokkan, but yeah, I probably wouldn't even give this like a 1% chance that this was going to happen, right? But I still think it would be super cool. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. And if you want to give some ideas of what the units would do, like create some kits for them or something in the comments, feel free, and I'd love to take a look at those. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.